Welcome into the Davis Football Show, everyone. My name is Nick Davis, and we're here with my brother Rob in the Davis Studios. Thank you so much for listening today. We are going to be covering all things football for you sports fans. This is the DFS. All right, everyone. Welcome back into the DFS. We are your hosts, Rob and Nick Davis, and apologize for the brief delay. We're dealing with a number of things. Rob is coming off a 14-day COVID quarantine.
Yeah.
How are you feeling, Rob?
I feel a lot better now, but yeah, the quarantine was rough, pretty boring, not doing much, but ready to go now.
All right. Well, you had plenty of time to watch a ton of football and to follow all the moves.
Yep, watched a lot of football.
Yeah, and we are loaded with content today. We have a jam-packed show. I mean, there's so much that we're not even going to get to and be able to cover. But we're going to start with the Chiefs-Ravens game from last night here in Week 3.
Yeah, man, this Chiefs-Ravens game, I did not expect it to go like that. It seems like the Chiefs were preparing for the Ravens since Week 1 because I've never seen more trick plays and misdirection plays in a game ever. So, I mean,
yeah, I was just about to say that they were totally well prepared beyond this past week because I really think they almost lost to the Chargers in Week 2 because they were thinking about how they were going to beat the Ravens in Week 3, and they almost got snuck up on.
Yeah, I mean that's what it looks like because. Man, the Ravens got young middle linebackers and young safeties, and like those misdirection plays it was eating them up. I mean, Mahomes had a field day out there.
Yeah, it was definitely some miscues. And I think the Ravens also were just trying to do maybe a little too much. Like they were trying to get a little too fancy and in a lot of the same ways maybe had some plays dialed up that they never done or practiced before. And that's something that, the Ravens are a team that just needs to pound the ball, and they have the personnel to do it.
Yeah. They went away from the run a little too early for me, but, I mean, the defense was leaking a lot of points, so I don't blame them. So, I mean, I don't really see it as nothing as that besides the receiving group. I mean, the receiving group really been struggling. I feel like they need to get another weapon out there to help Brown because, I mean, besides Brown, really, they got Willie Snead and Boykin, they're not really a threat to the defense. I feel like they need another weapon out there on the outside to help the offense.
Yeah, and, the Ravens run the ball so well. So for them to use play action to their advantage is a must. And I understand, typically off play action, you have big pass lanes that open up, and that's only going to be beneficial. But it seems like the Ravens are either run the ball or play action. Like there is no lineup, 5 wide and throw the ball. Like it's not a pure pocket system, which is how they operate. I understand that, but I think that they try to, when they do throw, they go for the big chunk play versus the slant. The out route, the comeback, like just the little chunk yards, they go for the larger play.
Yeah, well, from what I know from the Ravens offense, I mean, they're not bad just dropping back and doing passes from the pocket, but it feels like Marquise Brown's the only guy that could get separation on the defense because I feel like every time they do a drop back pass, Marquise Brown's getting the ball because he's the only one open. Because, I mean, I know Willie Snead and Miles Boykin, they're not bad, but I mean, they're not like above average receivers. I feel like, I mean, there's not a guy, the only guy in the defense is only worried about Lamar Jackson and not worried about the receivers.
Right. They did get a kick return from a world-class sprinter, which was beneficial, and he's in that wide receiver group. I would have loved to see. I know early, like in the first quarter, they did like a swing pass or run with him. I would have liked to see more of that and to utilize more of that run game.
Yeah, I mean, that's another weapon they got at the receiver. But I mean, he's a he's a rookie. He's only 5'10". You know, he's not really, you know, like a big target they got to worry about. But I feel like they got to go out and get that big receiver. I'm thinking maybe Devontae Parker from the Dolphins. You know, someone like that.
Yeah, that'll definitely be a come up.
Or Allen Robinson from
sure.
the Bears. They're not
Yeah,
willing to re-sign him.
You know, get off my Bears a little bit, but he will definitely fit in that system. That's for sure. You know, I heard someone bring up, you know, how well Allen Robinson will fit in Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah,
you have a great point, but
yeah, I don't know if the Bears will make that trade, but I do got a trade late in the show. I'm gonna tell you that what the Green Bay Packers should make.
Okay, all right. Well, let's actually shift to that real quick. Let's talk Saints Packers. That game was intense, and you know I like, you know, you can say this about all of these games. If there were fans in the stands and the dome was rocking the way, you know, New Orleans typically does, it might have been a different ball game, but it wasn't. So, and the Packers definitely showed their eliteness.
Oh yeah, Aaron Rodgers he's playing great this year. Even with fans in the stands, I don't even know if the Saints would have won that game because, I mean, the Saints offense don't look the same without Michael Thomas, and you know, Drew Brees doesn't look as sharp as he once was. I mean, I've noticed he's doing a lot of short passes more than deep passes. But yeah, I feel like they're really missing Michael Thomas, so I can't really judge the Saints yet because, you know, they're missing their best offensive player or one of their best offensive players. Right. So I mean, yeah, I mean, even fans in the stands, maybe the Saints would have pulled it out with Michael Thomas. Maybe they would have pulled it out, but I mean, we won't know until Michael Thomas come back and we get to really see that whole offense.
Yeah, and how crazy was it with Taysom Hill? You know, they give him all this money. There was this huge, you know, debate. You know, why is he being paid this? Why are they keeping him around? Like, he's not even the backup. They brought in Jameis to be the backup. Like, what is he? How is he as involved in the game plan, more involved in the game plan than Jameis is? You know what I mean? And I think it's just so critical that the game, a shifting point in the game was his fumble late in the game.
Oh yeah, Taysom Hill, man. They gave him a 2-year contract. You know, I think he's making $16 million guaranteed next year. And I mean, I feel like the only way they bring him in a game to take Drew Brees off the field, you know, that's the best player the Saints have. You know, so I don't feel like it's smart to even take him off the field at all to bring in Taysom Hill because, I mean, he pretty much costed the Saints the game last night or the other night. So, I mean,
right.
I feel like they could have spent that $60 million on, you know, another player, another 2 players.
Like cornerback. I mean, their corners are awful.
Yeah, the defense is playing so bad this year. I mean, they could have used that money to go get a defensive guy.
Yeah. There were so many options there, and this is one of the last cracks at it, especially with Drew Brees. I mean, they, you know, who knows? Like, it's something that, yeah, they definitely. I don't think Taysom Hill is going to make that offense any better. They needed to improve on the other side of the ball. Like all the games they lost, at Minnesota with Stephon Diggs, and then with Minnesota again with Rudolph, and with the Rams right before the Super Bowl. Like you go back to like the past 3-4 years of the Saints in the playoffs, and they always give up a game-winning touchdown on the last drive. It's the defensive side of the ball that's hurting them. You know what I mean? Yeah,
like imagine if they didn't get Taysom Hill and got like Clowney instead. I mean, I feel like that is a way better fit for that team right now.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's that's going to be their Achilles heel, and I know a lot of people were coming into this year with the Saints as a favorite, but I just don't see it.
Yeah, I had the Saints as the favorite out the NFC, right there next to the Seahawks, but I mean, it's not looking like it now. But I mean, we'll see. The whole team could change once Michael Thomas come back, because you know he's like the biggest part of that whole offense. So we'll see.
Yep, And you make a great point there. Michael Thomas is the whole thing, or the main part of that offense, is to which Aaron Rodgers is the main point to the Packers offense. And the question I got for you is, are they the team to beat?
I mean, right
in the NFC?
I mean, right now it's looking like it. I mean, the Packers are playing great. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is showing the front office that instead of drafting his backup in the first round and a running back that they don't even use, if they could have got some receivers to help that offense right now. But I mean, yeah, Aaron Rodgers
isn't that a little scary too to think about? Like, what if they got two of the this wide receiver class was deep. Like, imagine if they got two, I don't know, Jalen Reagor and Michael Pittman.
Right.
Like, what would that offense look like?
Right. Yeah. I mean, like, right now those two picks, they're not even helping the offense at all. So, like, imagine if they was able to use those picks to help the offense this year. I mean, they'll be looking a lot better. So, I mean, yeah, we'll see how that plays out during the whole season. I mean, Rodgers might get hurt, and Love might come in and help. But I mean, besides that, they're not gonna have a big impact on the team this year.
I don't even think Love is dressing for games right now. Like, he's like inactive. Like, he's on the team and everything, but like he's not the backup on game day.
Oh yeah, he's not. Yeah, it doesn't look like he's ready for the NFL yet. So yeah, it's not even dressing. Not even active.
Yeah. So the NFC is full of information. And I mean, there's so we could talk about every single team right now, but we just don't got that kind of time. When it comes to that Saints Packers game, I mean, what did it feel like a playoff preview to you?
Yeah, it did, honestly, a little bit, because I mean, those are one of the top teams in the NFC. To me, at least two of the top four teams in the NFC. So, I mean, the Saints wasn't full strength; they were missing their best player. Packers didn't have Adams, so I mean, yeah, for those players to be out, it did seem like a playoff preview to me.
Yeah, okay. I want to touch on another game that may have felt like a playoff preview for many. It was the Seahawks Dallas game. What's your take on that?
Man, I mean, I feel like Dallas might have the most talented team in the NFL, honestly. At least one of the most talented teams, because I mean, they got 4 or 5 good receivers out there. They got a solid tight end, running back Zeke. He's good, and Dak. So, but I mean, I feel like they just keep beating themselves with like turnovers. How many fumbles did they have in the first quarter? 3 or 4?
Yeah, they're extremely undisciplined.
Yeah, I mean, they fall behind by so much, and then second half they come back, but it's they barely beat the Falcons last week. They came up short this week versus Seahawks, but I feel like they just beat themselves. So I mean, if they clean that up, they could be 3-0 easily right now.
And it kind of makes you think, like, man, it's Mike McCarthy is the reason for that, or he's the head coach. I mean, I'm sure there's many reasons, but it ultimately starts with him. And I think looking back, him being in Green Bay, like, were the teams, and I don't know enough of Mike McCarthy and Green Bay 10 years ago to understand, but was Aaron Rodgers dealing with all of that throughout his career?
I mean,
like that undisciplined play that hurt him and hurt those very talented Packers team. I mean, it kind of sounds like we're talking about Dallas the way we talked about Green Bay 10 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they were saying back in the day it was his play calling not doing the job, but I mean, yeah, honestly, the Cobb would look just as the same as they did last year with Jason Garrett. I mean, just sloppy plays, just not being as sharp as they should be with all that talent.
Yeah, it definitely comes down. That's the whole reason why they got rid of Garrett, was because they said he was too soft and couldn't control that. All those egos in the locker room, and was just a yes man to not only the players but to Jerry Jones.
Exactly, man. I mean, and that defense, I don't know why Jerry Jones didn't go get Earl Thomas yet. I feel like even with his baggage, I mean, Earl Thomas would definitely help that defense.
that defense needed to. I mean, you saw like how many points, and it's funny. Like I think right now Dak is the leading leader in passing yards in the NFL, but I mean a lot of those yards are coming from behind trying to catch up just because their defense is so bad. They got to get in shootouts.
Right, yeah. A lot of his stats coming in garbage time when they're down 3 touchdowns. But yeah, I mean, if they clean that up, they could be top team in the NFC.
Yeah, yeah. So let's shift to the Seahawks, who just beat Dallas. Russell Wilson. I mean, is he the MVP front runner right now?
Oh yeah, Russell Wilson. I mean, he's playing. Him and Mahomes are just playing at a different level this year. I feel like.
Yeah, and I want to throw one more person in that mix. I like Kyler Murray a lot.
Oh yeah, Kyler Murray. He was my preseason MVP, but honestly, he had a really bad game. Well, not really bad, but I mean, they lost to the Lions at home.
It was not an MVP game this past week here in Week 3.
Yeah, he didn't have a good game at all last week. But another name is Josh Allen. Josh Allen is playing. He's right behind Mahomes and Wilson to me.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, he's second in the league in passing right now. I mean, he had that comeback against the Rams. I mean, he held off the comeback against the Rams, but I mean, the refs kind of helped him at the end there. But still, he's playing amazing right now. He's is he on top of the AFC? Him and the Bills and the Chiefs. I think those are the top 2 teams in the AFC right now.
Yep. And the Bills are they're playing phenomenal, and they all off season long the hype is real with them, but with the Bills, like Josh Allen is being compared to a baby Big Ben.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean he's playing great right now. So I mean, we'll see if he can keep it up throughout the season.
Yeah, so the AFC consists of 4 3-0 teams. That's the Chiefs, the Bills, the Titans, and the Steelers.
Yeah.
Are you a little surprised to see the Titans there?
I mean, I am a little bit. I mean, I didn't expect them to really improve that much over last year. I didn't feel like they, improved their team that much. But, I mean, they're playing good right now. They didn't play that hard of a schedule yet. So, I mean, we're only 3 weeks in. So, I mean, it's kind of hard to get a hold on any team yet because, I mean, it's so early in the season. We don't really know how much they're going to change throughout the year and get better.
Yep, and it's funny you say that because I thought the exact same thing. I'm like, man, I did not expect Tennessee to come out the gate 3-0 and be, one of the best teams in the NFL. But, looking back, there's, it's a little dummy work here. Their first 3 games were not against legitimate opponents at all. I mean, they play the Broncos, the Jacksonville Jaguars, and the Minnesota Vikings, who are all having awful years. I mean, Minnesota is 0-3, the Broncos are 0-3, and Jacksonville is 1-2. And I mean, and all 3 wins were close games. They just barely snuck out of all of them.
Yeah, Denver. They won by 2 against Denver, 3 against Jacksonville, and 1 by 1 against the Vikings. So, and then this week coming up, they got they had a couple of positive COVID cases. So they said they can't even practice this whole week. But I mean, so I don't know how that's all gonna go. They said they might move the game to Monday night, but yeah, it's gonna be a tough week against Pittsburgh. So.
They got Pittsburgh, Buffalo, then Houston. So they got some tough games on the way here before their bye week in Week 7. I wouldn't be shocked if we're sitting here in Week 8 and they're 3-3.
Yeah, I won't be surprised either. But those next 2 games are all at home, so I mean that's a break. But still, they could easily be 3-3 to the bye week.
So I mean, we touched base on all the top teams. We talked the Saints, the Packers, the Ravens, Kansas City, Seattle. Let's talk about the Patriots real quick because without Tom Brady, everyone thought that they were going to tank for Trevor Lawrence or whoever, and then they signed Cam, and you're like, oh man, I don't know. they might make a run for this thing. But then all these players started opting out again, like big name players, especially on the defense. And they're like, oh, nope, they're definitely tanking. And then here they go out here to beat the Dolphins, which, you know, they're the Dolphins, but I do think they're significantly better this year than they've been in a long time. Mm-hmm. And they're division rivals, so they those are always tough. And then they play Seattle, which was a true playoff preview game. And I know they're in opposite conferences, and I mean, that was like a Super Bowl type game right there that came down to the last play on the goal line. The only difference is Russell didn't have the ball and he didn't throw an interception. And then they played the Raiders, who came off a huge win. I did expect them to beat them just because I felt the Raiders were just too emotionally in the clouds and flying across the country, and then the Patriots never lose 2 games in a row.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the Patriots, the day they signed Cam, I felt like they were the third best team in the league behind the Ravens and the Chiefs. So, I mean, they were a yard away from being the Seahawks, so they're so close to being 3-0. They got the Chiefs this week, will be a real test for them. I mean, this for first place in the AFC. I mean, if the Patriots win, I feel like they're the number 1 team. I feel like so. Yeah. I mean, there's a big game coming up for them, so, I mean, we'll see how good they play. I know they don't got a lot of weapons on offense besides Cam, and on defense, the secondary is good, but the front 7 got a lot of questionable players that wasn't there last year. So I feel like, I mean, if if that front 7, if they add some talent, do a trade from there or trade from receiver, I feel like the Patriots could be a real dangerous team for the rest of the season.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's you were not lying about that one bit. Now on the NFC, there's 2 teams that are in front of their division here that, one is Tampa Bay, who had an awful coming out party against the Saints. Like the Saints really, kicked them in the mouth. But since then, they looked really good. Like if they would have played week 1 the way they've played the past couple weeks, I think we'll be talking about Tampa Bay in a whole different light. They just looked so awful week 1 on primetime. I think everyone is kind of expecting that to continue to happen.
Oh yeah, the Bucks. I mean, the game 1 against the Saints, was kind of tough for them. The first game together, but I mean they've been looking good against They played the Panthers and the Broncos, so I feel like that wasn't really that tough a competition. But I mean, they're not looking bad so far. They got some tough games ahead, though. I know they play the Chiefs and the Rams. They play the Saints again. They got the Bears and the Packers coming up. So, I mean, a lot of people think. Personally, I don't know if Tom Brady's gonna play as good as he is now through the whole season. He's 43. So, I mean, they're playing good now. The defensive run game, I feel like, is gonna have to carry them through later parts of the season, though.
Yeah, and that's really going to be hard looking at their schedule because the last 3 games of their schedule, they play the Falcons, the Lions, the Falcons, and all of those teams are super pass heavy, run up the score, shootout type ball clubs. So they're going to need to score points in those last 3 games in order to compete. And like you said, and is that going to be the time? The good thing is they're all in domes, so it's going to be very easy to do that with a comfortable setting. It'll be a lot different if they were playing in Buffalo or in New England later in the year.
Yeah, I mean, you said they end with Falcons, Lions, Falcons. I mean, but before that, they played the Vikings and the Chiefs and the Rams, even the 3 games before that. So, I mean, the last 6 games for them is going to be real tough. I mean, there's a lot of the offense is going to have to keep up. We'll see how the defense plays. I mean, this is a really young team, so I mean, I don't even know I'm not even sure if a lot of people on that team made the playoffs before, besides Gronk and Tom. But I mean, it's a really young team. We know once the playoffs come around, it's a whole different atmosphere for young players. It might be kind of tough on that defense.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. Now, the last team that's in the front of their conference, um, in the worst conference in football, sitting at 1-2, leading the division is the Washington football team. Now, let me remind you who's in that conference. We have the Dallas Cowboys, um, the New York Giants, and the Philadelphia Eagles. Um, Rob, who's going to come out of this division victorious?
I feel like the Cowboys. I feel like the Cowboys are still going to come out on top. I mean, with the way Wentz is playing so bad. I don't even know what's going on with that offense right now. And I mean, you can't trust the Redskins. You can't trust Haskins with that. I mean, they got a really young team, and and the Giants. Saquon's out. They're not looking good at all. So I feel like the Cowboys, if they go 8-8 and still win this division. So yeah, I got Dallas coming out on top.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about the Bears real quick. They're kind of getting a little overshadowed right now because the Packers are balling out and may just be the team to beat in the NFC. But the Bears are 3-0 as well. I mean, is the NFC North the best division in football? Possibly. That's for a later show. But we got the Bears. The Bears Falcons. I mean, watching that game, it was a roller coaster, man. Like so many emotions. Quarterback got switched. Play calling, the spark, the rally, and then the execution. It was a roller coaster. And how good are these Bears? Your opinion?
My opinion, I feel like they're just playing some really bad teams. I mean, the Falcons, they're 0-3. They can't close the game for nothing. I mean, the Falcons had the lead in the fourth, but they blew it. Same thing when against the Lions. I mean, the Lions, they had the lead, then blew it, and then had a wide open touchdown and dropped the open touchdown pass. And then, you see how the Giants look. Even though Saquon, they won by 4 points. So I feel like,
they almost blew that one too.
Yeah, I mean,
in that game they were up and had a hold New York and ended up holding them without Saquon.
Yeah, I know they're not a terrible team. They're not like bottom 5 or nothing, but I mean, I feel like they didn't play like that good of teams yet. So, I mean, it's hard to tell how good they really are. I feel like the first test, they played the Colts this week. I mean, the Colts, I'm not really high on the Colts. Anyway, but they played the Bucks on Thursday Night Football next week. I mean, the week after this one coming up. So I feel like that's the first real test. I mean, then they play like the Rams, the Saints, Titans. They start playing some better teams after that. So we're going to really find out how Foles and this Bears team is going to be.
Yeah, and look, they're off to a great start. Like, if they came out of here like 0-3, 1-2, looking up ahead at the schedule, it would have been a wrap. Like, these games, these first few, they on the schedule, like they chalked up as W's and needed to, and none of them were pretty, I'll tell you that, but they made them all happen. So that's definitely step one in the right direction.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this game coming up for the Colts, if they can win that game and start out 4-0, I feel like they're definitely in the playoffs if they do that, because I feel like they could put together some more wins. There's 7 teams making the playoffs now, so yeah, if they start out 4-0 to win against the Colts, I feel like they're in really good shape. Even if they lose to the Bucks, they're still in the driver's seat for the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, with the Bears, the 2 conference games against Green Bay are going to be huge too. And, they're later in the year. They're not, normally the Bears open up week 1 against the Packers the past few years, but it wasn't the case this year. And I think it's kind of a good thing, because the way Green Bay was playing, they definitely were hitting on all cylinders, and the Bears were not. So I think that if they can split with Green Bay, it'll really, really help out and help their cause looking into the postseason.
Oh yeah, hell yeah! They get that other win versus Green Bay. They got a lot of easy games. They play the Jaguars. I know the Vikings been looking bad. They played them twice. They got the Lions still. They got the Panthers in 3 weeks. So, I mean, those are a lot of games they can win. They could easily go 10-6 and have a higher seed, have home field advantage. Maybe we'll see how the Packers end up.
So Foles was named the starter, which is a big deal. Trubisky is he out? Like what do the Bears look like next year?
I mean, next year, you gotta have Foles unless I don't think they're gonna trade that contract. So you still got Foles. They're not gonna. I feel like they're not gonna. They can't sign Trubisky back. Trubisky's gone. Once they decline that 5th-year option, because you're already paying 20-something million to Foles. You can't bring another guy in for 20-something million. So, Foles gonna be at the quarterback spot next year for sure. But Allen Robinson, is he gonna come back? Are they gonna give him a contract? Are they looking other places? You just never know. It's too early in the season to see what type of route they're on to building a contender or like towards a rebuild. So we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah. And then looking, do we then draft a guy? Now we're going to have a 1st-round pick for the first time in quite a while since this Khalil Mack trade. So do we draft a QB round 1? And I know our round 1 is not going to be, top 5. The Bears just aren't, knock on wood, that bad a team. We're not the New York Jets right now, but it's going to be, I would expect it to be somewhere between 18 and 28, there's no top tier quarterback in that group typically, or do they go quarterback there, or do they wait and try to grab like a Russell Wilson in the 3rd round? Like, what do you think? Or do they go after someone like Cam?
I feel like the way this season is going, I feel like their schedule ain't too hard, so I feel like they'll be at least 10-6 this year. So I feel like they're gonna bring back Foles, try to have another season with Foles as the quarterback. They're gonna either address the wide receiver position. It depends if they sign Allen Robinson or, use that 1st-round pick on a defense or running back. You never know. But I feel like it's going to be kind of most of the same team coming back next year.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, let's shift into this. We have power rankings, top 5 teams in the NFL, in our opinion. Rob, you want to kick this off with number 5?
Yeah, my number 5 team right now, I got the Patriots. They only got 1 loss so far, and they were 1 yard away from beating the Seahawks, so they'll be 3-0. They'll be definitely in the top 2 if they won that game. So, a lot of people doubted Cam coming into the season. They didn't even know if he was going to start, but he proved himself. How I said, I've been saying he's a top 10 quarterback, but people just didn't give him a chance. I don't know how Kirk Cousins and Nick Foles and Phillip Rivers could get these $20-something million contracts, and Cam only got what, $1 million?
Yeah,
didn't get a lot. So yeah, that's my number 5 team.
Okay, number 4, and yeah. These next 4 are tough because you could put them in any order and explain your argument as to why you put them in that order. But I got the Green Bay Packers, and they may be the best in the NFC. But I think the Seahawks are just are a little more put together, and it's mainly, in again my opinion, based on coaching, is the differentiator there. But I got, the Packers, the 3-0 Packers at number 4.
All right, yeah, Packers are looking good. So you want my number 3 team?
Yep.
My number 3 team, I got the Baltimore Ravens. I didn't have my number 1, but last night happened. Didn't look good for them, so I got to put them under the Chiefs I can't put them ahead of the Chiefs. But yeah, I got them at number 3. They got to work on their offense. Definitely their deep passing game a little bit. They didn't look good Monday night versus the Chiefs, but I still feel like they're in a good spot.
It did not look good for them at all, one bit. And it's crazy because they steamroll everybody else except for the Kansas City Chiefs. And I really think they try to play outside themselves when they play them. And it's only when they play them.
I mean, the thing is what they do to what the Ravens so good at. They're good at playing man defense, and the Seahawks. I mean, not Seahawks. The Chiefs' offense is made to beat man defense. You know, you're better out playing zone versus that team. So I mean, especially with the young linebackers and young safeties. I mean, the misdirection plays, they were running that all night. You know, they were confusing them a lot. I know Patrick Queen, their first round pick they had, he was biting on the first look. They had a screen going and come back to the other side of the field. Now, that was really confusing them. They were getting chunk plays out of that. And I mean, I know Lamar didn't even throw for 100 yards, but I feel like people think that's as bad. It's not as bad as it looks to me, because the way the offense, they're more of a run-heavy offense, so like him throwing for not even 100 yards is him, that's just our offense. He usually only throws for like 200 yards, so I feel like, it's not that big of a deal as people think.
Yeah, right. And I think they ran the ball for like almost 200 yards, right? So I mean that's a highly productive offense.
Yeah, just they're so much different than the rest of the league. So I mean, yeah, I know Lamar had like 92 yards rushing. So I mean, like, he didn't have a terrible game. I feel like they just need to go get another weapon alongside Andrews and Marquise Brown, because I feel like there's both. I mean, this offense is so young. I mean, Lamar's 23, Marquise Brown's 21, Andrews is 24. The left tackle's 25. I mean, this is a young team, so I feel like they just should go out and get a real vet on that offense at the receiver position. That would help a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, number 2, we got the Seattle Seahawks, and Russell Wilson's playing like the MVP out there. It's crazy how much he's elevating just everybody around him, and you really see it in DK Metcalf, who is emerging as a true number 1 receiver. And I knew it when he was throwing blows with New England star defensive back. Oh my God! Why am I blanking?
Gilmore.
On Gilmore, yeah. When him and Gilmore was going blow for blow, and actually like fighting on the sideline in one play. Like that's when I knew, like, you're going at the best corner in the game. You're a number 1, my man. And he did make a boneheaded play last week when he started celebrating a little too quick, and Diggs punched that ball out, but. Think about that. Russell Wilson could have had a 6th touchdown in that game.
Yeah, Russell Wilson, he's playing fantastic out there. He's definitely in the league for the MVP so far. But and the only person in that conversation is our number 1 team. Oh yeah, number 1 team. Yeah, definitely. We got the Chiefs at number 1. Mahomes is playing out of his mind right now. I mean, they had a tough week against the Chargers last week, but, they had a fly across the country, and I feel like they were more preparing for the Ravens more than the Chargers. And, they had Herbert's surprise start, so they weren't really prepared for his plays, how he was playing out there. So, yeah, Chiefs are number 1 for now.
Who is a real dog, by the way. Like, Justin Herbert, like, you're going to have a long career, my man.
He played 2 games, so I feel like we don't know yet.
Yeah.
But he's looking good so far.
Yeah, he definitely is, and it was a very impressive week 1.
Yeah, it was. They played good out there with defending champs.
Or game 1 is what I meant to say for Justin Herbert. So we got a little segment here that we want to talk, about the biggest disappointment and the biggest surprise. In the form of teams in the NFL so far here in 2020.
You want my disappointment?
Yeah, let's go with that first.
All right, so the biggest disappointment I got the Philadelphia Eagles. Coming into the season, I know you had them high up coming into the season.
I did. I absolutely did, and they definitely let me down. Is this what you were speaking on earlier about this trade?
Yeah, so honestly, but no. Actually, it wasn't about the Eagles. I feel like the Eagles should, go get a receiver. I would feel like that would help the offense a lot, because I know they got Alshon Jeffrey still hurt. Deshaun Jackson missed some games. Yeah, so the receiver group isn't that strong. Goddard is he out for the season or just on IR? Do you know?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I know Goddard got hurt, so I know they traded for Hakeem Butler from the Cardinals, which he's a receiver, but I guess he's a tight end now. I guess I know we're just gonna have to keep an eye on that because that's kind of interesting. But yeah, I mean, the Philadelphia Eagles, they came in expecting to be one of the best teams in the NFC, and they're looking really bad. I mean, a lot of people are calling for Carson Wentz's job, don't even think he should be the starter anymore, and bring in Hurts. So yeah, that's my disappointing team so far.
And from what I hear, Hurts are doing real well. Like it really feels like kind of like what they did in Green Bay, drafting Love to elevate Rodgers. It kind of feels like the opposite effect happened with Carson Wentz. Like drafting Hurts impacted him negatively.
I mean, with that Hurts, I feel like they didn't bring in. I mean, bringing in Love to the Packers, that's a whole different situation. I don't think they really brought in Love to elevate Rodgers. I feel like they brought in Love because they thought Rodgers was washed up, but Rodgers just proving them wrong, and then that's the narrative a lot of people are saying. But it's different with Jalen Hurts and Wentz because, I mean, Wentz, he had a good end of the season last year, but, I mean, I feel like he still kind of underperformed last year. And bringing in her, I feel like they just really didn't believe in Carson Wentz and his injury history, so that's why they brought in Hurts.
Yeah. So, say Wentz gets hurt again, like he's bound to, and Hurts start balling out. I mean, what's the plan next year?
I mean, well, if Hurts come in and does good, I feel like they definitely got to test the market, see what they could get for Wentz. I mean, if they could get a decent haul, I feel like they'll pull the trigger.
Yeah. Now, my biggest disappointment, which is no surprise, I think, like it's, I think if you were to ask, 1,000 people, majority of people will say this team, and it's the Atlanta Falcons. Like, how do you blow, and I'm fortunate that they blew the lead last week against the Bears, and I appreciate that, but how do you lose 2 games of that significance? Like, you had them both in the bag. Like, all you had to do was run the ball for every offensive snap for the rest of the game, and you won the game.
Yeah, I mean, it's something with the Falcons. I don't understand why they got the game won, they got the lead, they just got a burn clock, and they keep passing the ball. And, I mean, it went back to the Super Bowl. That's the same thing that happened in the Super Bowl. I mean, they had the game won. All they had to do was take 3 kneels and kick a field goal, and they would have won the game. But they still kept trying to pass it. They took a sack, turned the ball over. So, I mean, I feel like the coach got to go. Especially last week, we saw the Cowboys. They didn't even know how to jump on a football, before it went 10 yards. So I feel like just the coaching, they gotta bring a new coach in there as soon as they can.
Yeah, and Quinn is not the guy. And people were, and that's what's the biggest disappointment is that like the players, like the rumor last year was calling for his job, and like the players fought back for him, and the players really, fought for their coach, and here he is again next year, and I think it's just time,
Yeah, and this is where I had to trade. I mean, I feel like the Falcons, if they keep losing, I mean, I feel like their defense is so bad, they're not going to hold any leads. The coaching's bad, so I feel like you just got to start the rebuild now. I know Matt Ryan's, 36? He's going to be 36? Mm-hmm. I think, I'm pretty sure he turned 36 this year. I know Julio Jones turns, I know he's like 31, 32, so I feel like they should just start the rebuild now, especially if they lose these next couple games. I mean, what do you think about this trade? Falcon trade Julio Jones, and the Packers make up for that mistake, and they give up Jordan Love, A.J. Dillon, the third-string running back they drafted in the second round, and a first-round pick for Julio Jones. What do you think about that?
Wow. Okay. And the Falcons take that and use Love as their future QB?
I mean, yeah, you could put him on a bench for the rest of this year. I mean, you could see what you could get. Because you could definitely trade Matt Ryan, I feel like.
Yeah. You could get something. I know a number of teams that will take Matt Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, you got Todd Gurley. I mean, how long is Todd Gurley's contract? Is it only 1 year or 2 years? Do you know?
I think it's 2, but I think it's so like team friendly that they can cut ties and be okay.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you have a whole. I mean, you have Jordan Love at QB. You have AJ Dillon, running back. You got Ridley and Russell Gage. Russell Gage been playing better than Julio Jones so far this year. So I mean, you got that young offense. You got Hurts you just traded for. I mean, I'm not really sure about the offensive line, but I mean, that first round pick from the Packers, you could use your first round pick and that first round pick on defense. I mean, I know it's a heavy offensive draft next year, so I mean, you could get defensive players later on. So I feel like you do that and you work on that defense, you'll be better off than you are just keeping the whole squad together next year. Because I mean, the defense isn't going to look any better. The offense is getting older by the day, so I feel like that's the best move for them.
Yep, and you make a great point there because they actually did go defense last year with their cornerback Terrell, and I mean it seemed to be working out well for them so far. That defense is young with some talent.
I mean, yeah, that defense is young, but I mean it's giving up a lot of points so far.
Yeah, I'm not saying they're playing well and they're far from great, but I do think it's improved a little bit from where it's been in the past.
Yeah, they got a couple. They got Neal and Deion Jones, Fowler. They're solid players, but besides that, they don't really got a lot. Besides that, I know the corners are really young. The D tackles, the D ends. I mean, they're not really that strong, but yeah, I mean, 2 first round picks out help a lot. Get a free agent in there.
So let me move into my biggest surprise. And it may come to a surprise that I'm selecting the Chicago Bears here. I think that them being 3-0 right now is a surprise because they didn't play 3 powerhouse teams or anything. They were definitely winnable games that they should have capitalized on, and they did. But the way that they fell behind and then rallied back to win with a quarterback change, like if you were to tell me right now that Trubisky wouldn't have played so well, they made a quarterback change and still won the game, that's a surprise to me. So I'm going with them.
Yeah, the Bears. I mean, I didn't expect the Bears to be 3-0. I mean, especially being 3-0 and making a move to Foles. I feel like I don't know if you guys you remember, but earlier in the year, I remember I said if the Bears could have at least an even record by the time they switch to Foles. But I mean, I feel like this is a lot earlier than I thought. I mean, Mitch wasn't playing. He played good in the second half versus the Lions. I mean, he played good. He played okay versus the Giants. But just the first half versus the Falcons, they decided to go to Foles. I feel like that was. I mean, I knew that was they plan on going to Foles eventually, especially trading for that big of a contract. You got to go to him. But,
yeah, exactly. And it was crazy how short of a leash Mitch was on because. He wasn't playing bad up until, last week's game. Like, he played the first 2 games and the beginning of that game, okay. Like, he wasn't an MVP type, Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray, Patrick Mahomes type, but he was definitely productive. But you definitely saw some uncertainty there, and it seemed like the one big mistake, that interception, they were, yanked. There wasn't even an opportunity to come back from that.
Yeah, it was already set in stone that he wasn't gonna, the first chance they had, they were gonna pull him. Because once you decline that 5th-year option, I mean, you could get, if you accept the 5th-year option, I mean, it's not even that big of a cap hit. I mean, it doesn't hurt your team that much. So, if you decline that, I mean, you're gone for sure. And you do that and trade for a $20-some million quarterback. So, yeah, that was already written in stone that they were going to go with Foles sometime through the season. So, I mean, they did it at a good time because, I mean, if they would have kept Mitchell, they might have lost. And, they're 3-0, so they got still a good chance at the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. Who's your biggest surprise?
I got my biggest surprise as... My big surprise so far, I got the Raiders. I mean, they're playing good right now. I'm not really too confident in them, but I mean, they're 2-1. They took a loss to the Patriots this past week, and they got the Bills, Chiefs, and Bucks the next 3 games. So we're really gonna find out. But I mean, against the Saints, they played really good. They really surprised me. I mean, that offense was moving. I know they lost the number 1 receiver before the season even started. So I mean, they got Edwards and Who's that rookie that drafted out of Alabama? Ruggs. I mean, them two are the
Ruggs,
top two receivers. So I mean, like, they're gonna get better each week. So I feel like that offense is gonna get a lot better, especially with Jacobs. They got Waller, one of the best tight ends in the league right now. I mean, that defense. I mean, if that defense keep playing how it's playing, I mean, they could easily be a playoff team. I was expecting them to be like 5-11, 6-10.
Yeah, same. And I think the biggest part of that is Derek Carr. Like he needs to play like a baller, like he's been in order for them to be successful. And I think that I think he's capable. And it's just consistency. And you can see the ball zip when he swings it. He just needs to make good decisions and make it happen.
Yeah, I mean, Derek Carr, he was in the MVP. He would have won the MVP if he didn't get hurt. I mean, a couple seasons ago. So I mean, it's not like you don't have the talent for it, but I mean, he's improving from this year. So I mean, if you keep that up, they'll definitely be in the playoffs this year.
Yeah, well, week 3 is in the books. Week 4 is underway. We're almost a quarter in here. After this weekend, we're going to be a quarter in here to the 2020 season. We do have some COVID cases popping up, so that's something we're going to have to keep a focus on and make sure that it's we got a net on it, so we don't have any scheduling issues or things outside of us playing games. So hopefully they can lock that down and we continue to move forward and finish out this season.
I mean, hopefully, yeah. I mean, I know the Vikings. I mean, yeah, Texans, Vikings, they're going with some COVID cases, but hopefully they get that cleared up soon. We can keep playing football.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and thank you all, as always, for listening. We are on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, the DFS. Thank you for listening so much. Please go to the iTunes, Apple Podcast, however you listen to the podcast. Leave a review and 5 stars. That would be fantastic. Thank you so much. And we'll talk to you soon.